Budapest and Brussels reach a deal over EU funds as Hungary agrees to withdraw its veto on €18 billion in aid for Ukraine.
European Union affairs ministers have agreed to recommend Bosnia and Herzegovina be granted candidate member status.
MEPs strip Eva Kaili of her position as Vice President of the European Parliament over the corruption allegations surrounding various members of the chamber.
The deal is done. An agreement has been reached between Hungary and the EU, but Budapest is still paying a very high price. The Hungarian government is agreeing to withdraw its veto on two important files. The first, €18 billion in aid for Ukraine, and the second, on a minimum level of taxation for the largest corporations. In exchange, it will receive some expected EU funds, even if more remain frozen. Despite this, the Hungarian government says it's still satisfied.
We have always advocated that if an agreement can be reached within a reasonable framework, with normal compromises, then it should be reached, especially at a time when the maintenance of European unity is very important.
As part of the deal, Budapest finally has the green light for its pandemic recovery plan, but it won't receive some €5.8 billion from it until completing a set of 27 reforms related to anti-corruption and judicial independence. The agreement also establishes that €6.3 billion from the EU's cohesion funds will remain frozen. According to one MEP, the deal is a good one for European democracy.
It is an incredibly important signal by the Council. Finally, for the first time, they're making it very clear there is no room for those who break the law, those who destroy the rule of law in Europe.
Budapest reckons it will be able to access the suspended EU funds for the first time in April, but only if the European Commission is satisfied with the fulfilment of Hungary's reforms. Chris Pictures for Euronews.
Bosnia and Herzegovina is a major step closer to joining the European Union after the bloc's European affairs ministers agreed to recommend the country be granted candidate member status. The decision taken at a Brussels meeting on Tuesday is expected to be endorsed by the leaders of member states at a summit on Thursday. It's already been welcomed by the Union's Enlargement Commissioner, Olivier Vahi. In a tweet, he declared the EU path is open. Bosnia joins Serbia, Albania, North Macedonia and Montenegro among Balkan nations to have one official candidacy. Kosovo is working towards the same goal. But it can take many years for full membership to be granted. With its complex internal structures and multi-ethnic composition, Bosnia and Herzegovina has a lot of work to do to achieve the reforms required by Brussels to become a member of the club.
Eva Kaili is no longer a vice president of the European Parliament. Following the earth-shattering revelations from the Qatargate scandal, MEPs voted to end her term in office with a vast majority of 625 votes in favour and just one against. The 44-year-old, who was one of more than a dozen parliamentary vice presidents, has been charged with corruption by the Belgian authorities. She's also been expelled from both the Social Democrat PASOK party in Greece and the continent-wide Socialists and Democrats group in the European Parliament. But some MEPs are worried that this is just the tip of the iceberg.
We have to go and find every single MEP that has anything like this going on. Unfortunately, I am sure that this is not over. There will be more cases.
Apart from Eva Kaili, a former Italian MEP, two parliamentary aides are also charged and will speak tomorrow in front of the pre-trial chamber, where the judge will decide whether they will remain in detention until trial or not.
In another step towards a greener Europe, Brussels has provisionally agreed a carbon dioxide tariff on imported polluting goods at Europe's borders. The carbon border adjustment scheme will affect the highest polluting products first, such as iron, steel, aluminium and fertiliser. In short, importers will have to declare emissions linked to their production processes and pay for excesses at the price of CO2 if their emissions exceed European standards. The Socialists and Democrats party in the European Parliament says the scheme will encourage trading partners to decarbonise their industries. The new bill will apply from the 1st of October 2023. However, the full phase-in and phasing out of free allowances will need to be discussed later this week. If approved, the initiative is expected to generate more than €14 billion annually and buttress the EU's general budget.
Russian forces are continuing to shape and consolidate their force composition in eastern Ukraine to bolster defenses against ongoing Ukrainian counteroffensive near the Kharkiv-Luhansk region and support limited offensive efforts in Donetsk region, says the Institute for the Study of War in its latest report. Now, Russian forces conducted limited counterattacks near Svatovo in order to regain the positions lost earlier. Russian mill bloggers claimed that the Kreminna front, especially along the Makiyivka-Kreminna line, is the most difficult axis of advance in Ukraine, with the exception of Bakhmut. Russian forces continued ground attacks around Bakhmut. The Institute for the Study of War reports that an unnamed U.S. military official stated that Wagner Group and Russian forces are engaged in intense battles for Bakhmut and committing significant resources to maintain the pace, but noted that Ukrainian forces continue to hold the line. Ukrainian Defense Minister Oleksiy Reznikov stated that Ukraine intends to continue counteroffensives in winter 2022 and 2023 after the hard freeze enables maneuver warfare. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces continued to target Russian military assets and logistics hubs along critical ground lines of communications in southern Ukraine. Ukrainian forces have reportedly damaged a key bridge outside the southern city of Melitopol, which is seen as a key objective for Kyiv and is vital to Russia's defense of territory it holds in the south, including Crimea. The bridge is essential to the resupply of Russian forces in southern Ukraine as part of a highway which runs from Russia along Ukraine's southern coastline via Mariupol, Berdyansk and Melitopol. The increase in Ukrainian pressure on Russian forces in Melitopol appears to be following a similar pattern that was used in Kherson before its liberation, with the targeting of both Russian troops and supply lines, including logistics links to Crimea.
Snow blankets parts of Europe just in time for Christmas, but with it comes traffic chaos. Cities like Lyon in France were brought to a standstill on Tuesday morning. Meteorologists say the extreme conditions have set in for the rest of the week, with freezing fog in the northeast, rain in the southwest, and snow and slippery conditions in the southeast. It's a similar outlook for the rest of Europe too, with temperatures set to reach as low as minus 23 degrees Celsius in Scandinavia. In London, harsh weather fell on the same day as the national rail strike, already expected to bring the country to a grinding halt. Only 20% of Britain's railway services have been in operation. But it's Northern Europe that is suffering the full brunt of the snowstorms. Air and rail traffic has been severely disrupted in Finland. Power companies have not ruled out outages due to the extent of the snowfall.
Cutting the ribbon for Hungary's first automated solar-powered cleaning boat for rivers. It's called RoboCollect and uses cameras to detect waste floating on the water. The rubbish can be picked up and sorted to be recycled. The specially designed vessel began being built in 2018 and it'll begin work next year. One of the boat designers says there are two parts to the new technology, so that as much waste is collected with as little energy as possible. In order to cover a large area of the river, we use a bubble wall, a machine with iron teeth that picks up the rubbish. We sort it at the back of the boat and put it into big bags. The bags are taken ashore by small boats, so the river cleaner doesn't have to dock. The sorting belt can detect plastic bottles, as our reporter explains. Optical devices, infrared sensors and artificial intelligence also help with the sorting process, so the plastic goes to the recycling site and the floating wood goes back into the river. Around 10,000 tonnes of waste finds its way to Hungary every year from Romania and Ukraine on the River Tesa.